Engaging people through visual storytelling with Chris Ryan. Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact. An essential podcast for those who live, work, visit, and play in Carlsbad.
Good morning and welcome, everyone. My name is Bret Schanzenbach, and I am the president and CEO of the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce. And I'm your host today, and I'm very excited to have with me today Mr. Chris Ryan from Ryan Video Productions. Chris, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And you and I are both locals. It looks like you grew up in San Diego. I grew up in North County, but you were down in San Diego, and Claremont High, UCSD.
Mm-hmm.
But then you had some professional stops that were not local, Cincinnati, Tucson. Tell us a little bit about your early part of your career.
Well, I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do after high school. So I actually enrolled in a nursing program and was accepted, but didn't really have the money saved up for books and uniforms. So I thought, well, I was moonlighting at UCSD as a DJ, like midnight to 3 a.m.
Oh, golly.
Great shift.
Yeah.
But
lots of listeners.
After 2 years of doing that as kind of a volunteer, I thought, because they didn't pay their students, but I thought, well, I'm going to just try radio. And I started hanging out at radio stations here in San Diego, and it's really hard to get in. So I packed up a Volkswagen Beetle full of little mini audition tapes and a sleeping bag and some clothes. And I just started driving, and I was going to go from Tucson north through, Arizona and Utah, Nevada, and Colorado, and just keep dropping tapes off wherever I go. And I ended up getting an offer in Tucson, and the station was like a freeform FM station. So they played all the music I loved. So I stayed there 7 years, and then got a job in my hometown, which was like coming home,
Nice.
Homecoming, and did that for about 20 years, radio. And then after that, moved into marketing and advertising. And
Very nice.
That took me around to different cities. Cincinnati was close to my family, close to my wife's family. So we moved there so that our family would grow up. My son would grow up near family.
And that was when you were with Dean Houston?
Well, Dean Houston was how I ended my marketing career, but I had a few stops along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of that part of your journey got you into video. Is that correct?
Well, that part of the journey got me paid for video. I was always hobbying with it. I would mess around and make videos with friends, and I'd be the guy at different events that would show up with the big giant video camera.
Camcorders.
And people would say, "Put that thing away." Yeah. But I would make little videos of vacations or different events. And then with Dean Houston, they didn't have a videographer, but they did have a need to record videos of their clients. Mm-hmm. And they had clients all around the world. So I had a chance to travel to Europe and Asia and create testimonials and brand videos for our clients. And I did that for about 11 years.
Yeah. So you were doing that with Dean Houston for 11 years, but then 4 or 5 years ago-ish, you made the decision to leave that and whatever relative security that might have been and start your own firm, your own company, Ryan Video Productions. So why? Why leave that and do your own thing?
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Being at this stage in my life, I was in my late 50s, and it's like, I've never been an entrepreneur. Yeah, you were, Bret, one of the first ones I sat down with, and it was kind of scary at the time because it was like, I got a mortgage. I need to pay the bills. There was no safety net, but I'd been doing video as a kind of a side hustle when I was working with Dean Houston because they couldn't give me a raise. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, maybe they'll let me make a little extra money on the weekends. Mm-hmm. And so I was transparent with them. I said, I'd like to do this. But it got to a point where I was obviously focused more on my own gig. Mm-hmm. And so we just made a decision to part ways, and I started with absolutely nothing, no clients, no prospects, just like going to chamber events and networking like crazy.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, it's awesome. You made that leap and branched out all on your own. No safety net. That's always an interesting journey. But here you are now. What has it been, 4 or 5 years?
I've been dabbling as a side hustle probably for 5 years, but on my own for 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, these years later, and you're doing fantastic. I have to book a project with you months in advance because your calendar is busy.
It is busy. Yeah. I'm very grateful. I mean, I've got a lot of return customers, referral customers. So it's kind of like at that sweet spot where you start. I was telling people in a networking group yesterday, it's like, when you're trying to camping and you're starting a fire and you get this little smoldering thing in this little pile of needles and you keep blowing on it and blowing on it and there's nothing happening. But then all of a sudden, poof,
it ignites.
And it's like, that's where it is right now. It's like, I've paid enough dues in establishing awareness that people are starting to say, oh yeah, I know that guy. So yeah, I just feel super blessed. Plus SEO, people are finding the website.
Yeah.
So I'm getting a lot of jobs just from around the world. People that Google videographer San Diego, they find me.
And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But your website, and me knowing you since you started this journey, you talk about how you specialize in corporate storytelling. So walk us through your process that you take a company through as you're helping them to tell their own story.
Yeah, good question. So having been in marketing and advertising for 20 years, and then before that, media, it's all about communication. It's all about knowing who your audience is and knowing what you need to say or can say that will kind of break through all the other clutter out there, thousands of messages a day that we get, all the social media, all the stuff. And how can you make a direct connection with an ideal customer and then be different than everybody else that they've heard the same thing from? I was just talking yesterday to a realtor who I'm doing a branding video with, and you came from real estate.
I did, yes.
So the main thing realtors say when they're talking with customers is, well, I like to develop a relationship with my clients.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah.
But that's, I don't think, enough of a differentiator in and of itself.
That's like saying we're strong on customer service. Yeah,
Right.
Everybody says that.
Everybody wants to say that.
Yeah.
And, so a strong brand will have that, but you may have to have a little more. So that's where, when I'm doing branding videos for customers, I try to peel back some of the other things that they're doing that are a little different from everybody else.
Yeah.
And I'll try to get some testimonials or some, real evidence, credible people saying, oh yeah, they're the best. I've been using them. 3 houses I bought through so-and-so. That kind of credibility, word of mouth, testimonials are so strong. So my process is to try to get into the business and understand their culture and what makes them different in their competitive environment.
Yeah. You just mentioned a couple of, corporate use of video is growing exponentially right now, and you mentioned a couple of specific types of it. You mentioned branding, you mentioned testimonials, but there's a ton of ways that businesses can use video to help them with all variety of processes. Share a few of those things that you've done, different pockets of things like, I don't know, product training videos or whatever. You've done a lot of stuff.
Do you want me to talk about a specific, like a Carlsbad chamber member?
Sure.
It's okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say good things,
Okay.
so they'll probably like it. But, like being on the ambassador committee, I'd go out to the ribbon cuttings.
Yeah.
And one of the ribbon cuttings was at Coastal Animal Hospital in Carlsbad. I introduced myself to Brian Evans, the owner, and he was new, but he had another store down in Encinitas, another office. But he needed to tell his story about what made him unique, different. They have a next generation veterinary practice. He does laparoscopic surgery on dogs, which they do for humans, but doing a minimally invasive spaying on a dog is like, well, they're in and out in a day. There's instant healing. The dog is much more comfortable. So anyway, he wanted to tell the story of not only what made him different, but then also how they do this laparoscopic surgery and how they do dental surgery, which both are very different. And then he wanted to do video blogs. So we've been doing a monthly video blog. So that's another thing. So social media is another place where you can continually have content and talk about, is CBD safe for my dog? It's a huge search term. So let's create a video for that.
Awesome.
So anytime you can do a video that answers a question that's highly searchable online, that's a good thing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that SEO has been, search engine optimization has been really good for you to get found as your business has continued to grow. I saw this statistic, 82% of all, this is kind of mind-boggling, 82% of all consumer internet traffic will be online videos by 2022.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a staggering statistic to think about, but talk about the SEO value of videos and how that can help companies, in getting their name out and word out.
So, two branches to that question. One is the trend toward video and video learning. It is like the human brain is, and just our need for instant gratification. And I want to learn what I need right now.
Yeah.
Show me how to screw in this light bulb.
Right.
I'll look at a video before I'm going to read a how-to
Yeah.
manual. And
So true.
now you get your products in the mail, and there's used to be a user guide, then there was a quick start guide.
Mhm.
Now it's like a couple of
link.
pictures with no language at all.
Yeah.
Or it's just a QR code that takes you to a video.
To a video, exactly.
So Google and the other search engines, their algorithms are also modifying to push more video so that when you do a Google search, you'll get not only maybe website answers to your question, but also video answers to your question. And then other types of third-party search, like for me, for people that search, I need a videographer, you're going to find Yelp, you're going to find Production Hub or Thumbtack or all these different directories where videographers list themselves. So that's been a part of my recipe for SEO is get my website on as many of these directories.
Sure.
But the search algorithms are just pushing video up all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So then the question becomes, is all video equal? Can I just grab my smartphone and go do a little video and that's just as good as anything else? Or is there, and I know there's a difference because I've worked with you for so long, but can there be a qualitative difference between how video is done?
Well, qualitative and popularity are not necessarily in the same. I mean, you see TikTok videos of singing birds, and they go millions, viral in a day. So, quality for corporate video, for business video, your brand is associated with whatever you put out there, whether it's a good website or a nice brochure or a good business card or a good video. So, if a business is conscious of their brand and their quality, and if they want to come across as being professional, then videos are not all the same. You could do a good video with an iPhone, and people do it all the time. But most people aren't comfortable in front of a camera. It's just not a human nature kind of thing,
right?
Unless you're a total ham, and some people are.
Yes.
But some people
Why are you
need a
looking
little
at
bit
me
of
that
help.
way, Chris? Why are you looking at me like that? No.
But a good videographer should be able not only to pull the story out, but also to get you to just relax and breathe and be yourself. People know when you're being genuine.
Yes.
And that is, I think, the key to a good video for anybody, whether it's a business or just a, blogger.
Yeah. So the last 18 months have been obviously quite unique in this world we live in with, the coronavirus having altered so many normal or disrupted so many normal events or processes or meetings, gatherings, conferences, etc. So there's been this big move to virtual and to this visual online engagement. And so the video element, again, not all virtual events are equal, right? So there's a role to play for quality video production in your virtual event or whatever that might look like. Talk about the possibilities there as well.
When the COVID shutdown started, the phone didn't ring for about a month, so that was scary. But the phone began to ring, and the things that started bubbling up were things like, how can we use video to supplement what we were going to do with this conference? We've got all these speakers in town. We want to send it out to the world.
Yeah.
So creating virtual content in real time, like streaming events, that became much more popular. And I've streamed weddings. I've streamed memorials. I'm going to be streaming a bar mitzvah next month. Never been to a bar mitzvah, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
I've done virtual trade shows for a global audience where we actually had somebody watching in like the South Pole, But
Wow.
we had several hundred doctors watching from all around the world to find out how to do a particular type of medical technique. And we did it live in La Jolla and just on Zoom. So streaming is huge. And then,
But I think, though, on that topic, streaming is huge. But in 2020, when everything first had to pivot,
mhm,
if you had a certain event that normally had been in person and you converted it
mhm,
to something on Zoom, people were like impressed and people were like, that's great. Good, kudos, thanks for doing that or whatever.
mhm.
In 2021, if you're still doing something virtual, there's an expectation of a higher production value, wouldn't you say?
Uh, Maybe. I think interactivity is
Yeah.
probably higher.
Yes.
People don't just want to sit there and watch something without being
Mhm.
able to engage.
Yeah.
So the ability to have chat. So I've done a lot of YouTube live streaming where,
Sure.
there's a rolling dialogue of all these people that are watching the wedding, and they're all
Wow.
recorded talking about, oh, you look beautiful. Oh, it's
Mm.
such a great setting. Love to be there. Thank God for hotspots and 5G cellular
Mm.
because, you know, I've
Yeah.
had to do stuff where it's like I'm down at La Jolla and they don't have any electricity
Oh,
and I'm
wow.
having to stream live and all I've got is my phone. So fingers and toes crossed. But another thing that, and we're doing this together for a client, but this happened about a year ago, is that people who used to do live events, like say, for example, Daily Ranch, every year they would bring the
Mm.
students of Escondido out for a virtual field trip, and they would
Mhm.
do, or for a real field trip.
Yep.
And for a whole week, all I think maybe fifth or sixth grade students would go to Daily Ranch and learn about geology, biology, horticulture, animals, all this stuff. The rangers and docents would talk about that Indian
Mhm.
culture. Last year, the Friends of Daily Ranch wrote a grant. They got money from SDG&E and the San Diego Foundation and Rotary, and we created a 21 video series
Mhm.
with all the rangers
Right.
acting as teachers. And
Nice.
it was all just a very educational, interactive. We
Right.
made it fun. We kept in some of the mistakes. I mean,
Sure.
these are school kids. They want to
Yeah.
be entertained a little bit.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
yeah, there's been more than just the streaming. If people are smart, there's a lot of good ways to use video as an
Yeah.
educational and interactive tool.
Very cool. Any other strengths of, I mean, you and I talk about this, but here we are on a podcast medium, which is a great storytelling medium, but video is almost the ultimate storytelling medium, it seems like,
Mhm.
and any other great things that you want to leave? Because I have a couple of other things I'm going to pivot to, or
Mhm.
mostly one other thing that I want to hit you with, but I don't want to miss anything on video. The other thing is off topic
Oh, good.
slightly.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Fun. We get a bonus round.
Yeah.
I would think, there's a lot of people out there, whether you're a business or for whatever reason, you want to do video and you don't know how to get started. And you
Yeah.
don't want to put something out there that makes you look dumb.
Right.
Everybody wants to look smart when they're
Yeah.
out in the public or on,
That's so true.
especially if you're putting it out there online where it's like, it's going to live forever.
Mm.
Once it's out there,
Yep.
so working with an experienced videographer who can make you comfortable and help you tell the story with passion and genuine human emotion so that you can connect and be credible. Sometimes you need to call somebody to help. And
Yeah.
so anybody that's shopping for videographers, just look at their website and do some research to find out. There are some videographers that it's basically hit the record button. I'm recording you, you do your thing, whatever
Right.
you need. Other times you need somebody who's kind of a partner with you.
Yeah.
And so I think that's my advice to anybody.
Yeah. That's great. And I think that in our relationship over the last few years, that's what I've seen. Your strength is helping us tell our own story better than even we could ourselves. So I appreciate that. And not just the projects that I've been able to do with you, but the ones I've seen you've done for other local nonprofits and organizations and other groups. So I appreciate that. But I did want to say that I was trolling your Facebook page a little bit, and I had forgotten what a huge music fan you are.
Oh, yeah.
You are big into music. Now, do you play anything?
I play air guitar.
Yeah. So you're like me. I come from this whole family of musicians, but all I play is an iPod or
I
something.
know. There's a sense of shame there, but I feel like, I could hold a conversation with any musician. In fact, I went to this restaurant down in Vista, Partake. they're starting to do
Yes.
more live stuff, and it was a open mic. Just musicians could come and play.
Yeah.
And I went down there to write a script, but I
Mm.
wanted to be inspired, get out of the house. So I sat there and I had my beret on and my clothes, and I had my notebook, and they thought I had music with me.
Mm.
So I'm sitting there doing my thing, listening to these guys play, and they kept calling me up on stage. It's like, I'm not a musician. I may look like one, but I love music. Having started in radio and having, like from a very young age, my earliest memories are about songs and about how that tied into a memory in my life. So I love music. It inspires me. And if I can do video to help a band, which this weekend I will be videotaping down at the Carlsbad Music Festival.
Nice.
I'm not getting paid for it. I'm a sponsor just because I'm shooting video.
Sure.
But I mean, I've got a couple videos that have gotten really high numbers of views. And it's so cool. I just was watching my phone this morning. I did a video for a band in town called The Steely Damned, and if you're searching Steely Dan online, they come up a lot because the names are so similar.
Right.
But the comments on this one song, I can tell that they're people from all over the world because sometimes they're Chinese characters.
Sure.
Or they're speaking really rough English.
Yeah.
So it's really gratifying to see
The
something
reach.
that you create
Yeah.
that is music that you love is actually touching and inspiring people all around the world.
All
That's
around the
a
world.
thrill.
That's awesome. Well, I want to thank you for taking time to join me today and coming to share your passion and your gifts. And I appreciate all you do for our organization. We're working on a couple big projects actually this coming month. And so I appreciate that. And thanks for being here.
I appreciate you and the chamber because that's how I started my business. And I'll give you a strong endorsement. If a business is wanting to get to know other business owners and grow the awareness within their business community, the Chamber of Commerce is a great way to go.
Thank you for that, Chris. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining us on our Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact podcast today. If you enjoyed it, please hit the follow button on wherever you get your audio. And please tell a friend. We would love to hear your feedback, which you can share at carlsbadpodcast.com. You can leave us a review, ask a question, or leave an audio comment, which we can play on the show in the future. And that's all we have for today. Can't wait to see you next time on Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact. And remember, share some kindness today. It's free, creates goodwill, and makes you feel great.